The pace of change over the past 50 years has been extraordinary. The global economy has expanded fourfold. Over 1 billion people have been lifted out of extreme poverty, and we live significantly longer, and childbirth mortality has significantly dropped. However, this 19th and 20th century model of economic growth has come at a significant cost to nature. Globally, nature is declining at rates unprecedented in human history, with up to 1 million species at risk of extinction, largely due to human activity. Since 1970, there has been a 60% average population decline across all vertebrate species. Over the same period, we have lost more than half of the world's coral and over a third of all wetlands. Meanwhile, greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise, both intensifying extreme weather events and nature loss and putting effort to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement further off course. Biodiversity loss is one of the top 5 risks in terms of impact and likelihood over the coming decade. For the first time in planetary history, humans are the driver of climate and environmental change, or what is being called by scientists as the Anthropocene. Earth system scientists and researchers predict that if the current rates of nature destruction continue unabated, some biomes, example the tundra, grasslands, coral reef, forest and desert, may cross irreversible tipping points. UK economist Partha Dasgupta has acknowledged, and I quote, "We economists see nature, when we see it at all, as a backdrop from which resources and services can be drawn in isolation," unquote. The challenges of nature loss are both wicked and non-linear. No single business and no single human on this planet can decouple its dependency from nature. $44 trillion of economic value generation, over half the world's total GDP, is moderately or highly dependent on nature and its services, and therefore exposed to risk from nature loss. Industrial scale fisheries and other unsustainable practices have further exposed economies and societal well-being to nature-related risk. There is an urgent need to reset humanity's relationship with nature, especially our oceans, inasmuch as over 70% of the total ocean surface is outside jurisdiction. Nature is essential to both global economic prosperity and individual business success. We cannot have a sustainable future for people, especially young people, and economies if we do not address nature, climate, and people in an integrated way. Unfortunately, shareholder capitalism and profits have been built on the destruction of the natural world. If corporations are willing to go beyond economic generation and serve their purpose in fulfilling human and societal aspirations as part of the broader social system and champion a shared and regenerative economy for all its stakeholders, then we need to prioritize the most vital social and economic stakeholders for survival and regenerative development, planet Earth. Dear friends, nature is an entrepreneurial system whose ecosystem services have been conducting research and development for billions of years. The cost equivalent of humanity replicating nature's system is incomparable. The Nature Action Agenda calls for a movement to disrupt business as usual approaches, halt biodiversity loss by 2030, and restore the planet's vital systems. To do so, we need a fundamental shift from businesses and governments in our foundational relationship with nature. In the natural world, we can find different types of ecological relationships, whether they are mutualistic relationships between species, where we have a win-win situation, commensal relationships, win-neutral, or parasitic relationships, win-lose. Although, even in nature, parasitic relationships can sometimes serve the long-term interest and the broader health of an ecosystem. Unfortunately, the predominant relationship that businesses and government have with their primary natural stakeholders is often parasitic, and one that has proven to be disruptive for all ecosystems. In the coming UN decade on ecosystem restoration, our challenge is to shift our primary relationship with the natural world from a parasitic to a collaborative and regenerative relationship with our planetary stakeholders. For the marine environment, there is already an incredible new wave of innovators who have taken the approach of forming public-planet partnerships with the natural stakeholders, such as the partnering with the ocean currents to clean the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. All-inclusive stakeholder approach for nature also calls on government and corporations to invest in the development of frameworks that protect the legal rights of nature so that the planet cannot be exploited and so that stakeholders' value is shared across species and ecosystem. Here, I have a special thoughts for our mangroves as they bear the onslaught of the oil spills from the MV Wakashio. I think that by now the whole world is aware that the MV Wakashio, a Japanese carrier with thousands of gallons of fuel, has hit our reef on the 25th of July of this year, and oil has started to leak on the 6th of August 2020. This ship has soiled our marine park and another Ramsar protected area where unique plants and animals have been living for thousands of years. Many endemic species of plants and animals are now at risk. Our mangroves are now covered with oil slick and increasing our coral reef vulnerability. Mangroves can sequester up to 10 times as much of carbon pollution as rainforests. They help defend against flooding, grow up miraculously on seawater, fringe some of the tropical shores where they help anchor shorelines and protect the coast from the devastating impacts of storm waves. They are much more effective than concrete seawalls. Mangroves shelter a wealth of wildlife, protecting more than 3,000 fish species, many of which are of commercial importance. Despite all these benefits, mangroves tend to be undervalued, and 11 of some 70 mangrove species are at risk of becoming extinct. Every year, the environment provides about $125 trillion in free services, for example, pollination, water filtration, oxygen production, and flood protection. This is worth more than the entire global GDP. Coral reefs are home to so many species, but they are often called the rainforest of the sea. Today, they face a daunting range of threats, including ocean warming, acidification, overfishing, and pollution. Worldwide, more than 1/3 of all coral species are at risk of extinction. Corals are in trouble, and they aren't down for the count yet. Oh, that's good news. In 2019, the United Nations reported that around 1 million animal and plant species are threatened with extinction, and many of them within decades. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last century, we have become out of balance with nature. Today, 96% mammals are human beings and are domesticated livestock. In the ocean, 90% of the large fish, from sharks to tuna to cod, have been removed in the last 100 years. The biggest drivers of biodiversity loss in the ocean is when we have been taking fish out of water faster than they can reproduce. And today, 63% of fish stocks are experiencing overfishing. The planet is like a bank account where every living thing pays in deposits, but we are the one species that have kept withdrawing funds. Our overuse of our natural resources is costing us $6 trillion every year. And by 2050, those costs could rise to $28 trillion. Perhaps the harnessing power of their remaining biodiversity can give them a fighting chance. just like for other creatures, big and small. I thank you for your attention.